Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Utah Army National Guard. Aired by the Utah Broadcasters Association and this station.
Your neighbors in Garden City invite you to celebrate the 4th of July weekend in beautiful Bear Lake this Saturday night, July 2nd at Heritage Park where the big American flag is. Come enjoy live music with American Idol winner Maddie Poppy. Festivities get started at 4 with food trucks and fun activities for your kids. The music starts at 7:30 and fireworks at 10. The event is free, but bring your own chairs and blankets. Go to bearlake.org to find out about all the activities happening this weekend in Bear Lake. Fireworks, live music, and fun this Saturday night at Heritage Park in Garden City.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on a beautiful Saturday morning as we have a mix of sun and clouds outside the KVNU studios, looking ahead to temperatures in the 90s this weekend. And with it being the July 4th holiday weekend, I know many people are looking to get outside, do a little gardening, and then enjoy some time with picnicking and barbecuing.
That doesn't sound bad, does it?
It really does not get any better.
Does not sound bad. And it's not terribly hot. You know, it's what I thought I saw like some high 80s on like Monday.
By Monday, yeah.
So,
low 90s for today and tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds pretty average.
Yeah. So, and we've even got a few little microbursts of storms that have come through.
I was kind of surprised by that little storm that snuck in the other night.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. In some parts, I know around the island area, they had pretty good
some
rainfall.
significant rain, yeah. So I was out there enjoying the rain myself.
Yeah. And we need it. Any way we can get it, just a little bit here and there is better than nothing at all.
That's right. We'll take it. But it's making the plants grow like crazy. The heat. So it's like my tomatoes have been growing like an inch a day.
Yeah.
They're just growing like crazy. I harvested all of our peas yesterday. So I went out there early in the morning and picked before it got hot, before I had to go to work. And all the my peas are done.
Pulled those all out.
Yeah, they're done. I haven't pulled them out, but I picked everything off of them, so they're pretty much done. So we'll pull those. And the spinach has all gone to seed, so that's time to reincorporate that in. So what's cool though is we can plant all kinds of things right back in that same area where the peas and the spinach are, and the lettuce. So I'll till those all in, and then we can plant some more beans. We can plant some more corn. If you want to plant a zucchini, even from seed still, I mean, they'll produce in 45 days. So I was out in the garden last night looking, and I've got crookneck on my squash already. Yeah.
Wow.
And I planted those 28 days ago. So it was like right around the 4th of June when I got mine planted. And they've got fruit on them already. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so not too bad. The warm temperatures been very good for the gardens. It's not been too hot, so we've been able to stay on top of that. And it's just making the plants grow. They're just growing like crazy. And warmer nighttime temperatures, the tomatoes are starting to set fruit. So that's really good. Tomatoes and peppers. I've got a couple peppers that already have peppers on the plants.
Nice.
Yeah. So they're coming along. Hanging baskets are looking amazing on Main Street. Everything's looking really good. fertilizing very consistently.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing on Center Street. Center Street took us longer to plant this year because the weather was so cold. We thought it was going to freeze multiple times.
Kind of held off.
First part of June, so we just kind of like, well, let's wait. We'll leave the pansies in a little bit longer. So we left the pansies in a little longer, and but we've started fertilizing those planters pretty consistently as well too with our secret recipe for the hanging baskets. It's making the flower beds go like nuts. Yeah. So we'll give them another week or two, and they'll be just like cascading out. They'll be cascading out onto the sidewalk again. So not too bad. Hey, our shipment of fruit trees came in on Monday.
It did?
Yeah, and they look amazing. They look so good. So lots of stone fruits. So we've got about 5 varieties of cherries. We got about 4 or 5 varieties of apricots that came in. 5 or 6 varieties of peaches. They're all really, really nice varieties. I think we got 2 varieties of nectarines and 3 or 4 plums, some pluots, some pluaries, which is a cross between a plum and a cherry. They're actually really, really good. And just a few pears and apples, too. So, But the trees are in 10-gallon pots. They are 6 to 7 feet tall, and they're like leafed out, beautiful. A lot of them even have fruit on them. So we were sending out pictures the day before yesterday of peaches on the trees.
Some already, well established.
Peaches on the trees already. So they're bigger trees. They're not just little sticks. They are fully leafed out, and they look really, really nice. So we're excited about the fruit trees that came in. So don't wait, because we're selling those peaches about as fast as we, as people are coming in, they're just disappearing. So if you want to get a peach now, now's the time to do that. Sidewalk sale is next week downtown. So we got some activity.
Weekend.
Yeah, we got some activity happening downtown. So the sidewalk sale, we'll be starting up our classes for July during the Wednesday market also. So market is on Wednesday on Center Street. We've got a class this week. The extension is coming. USU Extension is coming to teach that class, and it's water-wise landscaping is what our topic is. Yeah, so they'll be talking about water-wise landscaping on Wednesday at 12:15. So that should be great. Looking forward to that. So classes are starting back up. We've got our Mad Money sale is coming up the 11th. I think that's the 11th through the 16th of July. So that's coming up as well too. So sidewalk sale this coming week. Mad Money sale the week after. So if you've been coming in and spending money at Anderson's, you've been accumulating some Mad Money on your account. And for every $10 that you spend in the store, we give you back $1 in Mad Money. And then you get to come in during one of our sales. There's one in July. There's one in September for bulbs. And there's also one in December. And you get to use that Mad Money just like cash for up to half of your purchase. So Mad Money's coming up. That's coming right up. So
summer just flying by. Here we are in July already, and
it's crazy. It's July already. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's the 1st of July. What happened to spring?
Yeah. Cruise in this weekend, and of course fireworks tonight, and wow, before we know it, we're going to be to the 24th of July.
I saw little chairs already set up there on Main Street for the parade. Yeah, it's kind of an event.
Yeah. And then everybody will head over to Willow Park for the fireworks. It's going to be a fun day today.
Should not be too bad. So
now, with it being the 4th of July, any changes with Anderson Seed and Garden as far as Monday's concerned?
Monday, we are closed on Monday, so we'll be closed Monday, and we've been advertising that a little bit. But we are open all day today, so 9 till 6 today, and we did get some nice new plants in again. So I've got not greenhouses. Greenhouses are getting kind of empty. We're pulling stuff out of the greenhouses because if it's 95 degrees outside, it's 105 in the greenhouse. Yeah. And so we've been pulling everything that we can out of the greenhouses to try and keep them cool. But we've got the shade cloth out, and we've got the misters going, and we'll probably have misters on Center Street for the sidewalk sale as well too. So we'll have our misters going out on Center Street, which is really nice. But some really nice new shrubs came in, and we got those. We got a great selection of some new shade trees as well too. So if you're thinking about planting trees, this is a great time to actually plant trees. So whether it's the new fruit trees that just came in, or whether it's a shade tree. And I was talking to someone last night who stopped by the house, and we were talking gardening, and I was like, I think everyone should plant at least one tree every year. It will solve a bunch. It will solve a bunch of our problems. So it helps cool things down. You get some nice shady trees. It helps cool things down. Improves the air quality. Cleans a lot of carbon out of the air. So it's amazing how much those trees pull right out of the air. Keeps their air clean. So if everyone in the world were to plant one tree every year, we would solve our greenhouse problems. So that's all it takes. So plant trees. That's my lesson for today.
I was going to say we usually rotate between trees or shrubs, or this year we did rose bushes.
Yeah.
This year was the year my wife, she's like, I just want to plant some really nice rose bushes.
And the roses,
they've been blossoming the last couple of weeks, and they've just been gorgeous. We picked them up it was about mid-May. We picked them up when that shipment of roses came in.
Right, that was our last shipment. Yeah.
And put them in and just soaked them really good. Put in fact, we dug the hole extra big and just put in a lot of fertilizer, mixed that in with the soil, and they've just taken off this year.
Yeah, I was going to say the roses have done amazingly well. You drive around town, there's a bunch of shrub roses that are in bloom, and they just look so nice, so nice. But it's been, they kind of like that cool weather that we've had, but now it's like hot, so the flowers are all coming on. So the key to keep the roses blooming is when the flowers kind of start to fade, prune those off. And prune them down about 5 leaflets. So look for the first 5 leaflet leaf. So roses have 5 leaves on each leaflet, and so go down 5 leaflet leaves and prune right there, and fertilize again, and then you'll get more flowers.
And they'll just take off.
Yeah, they just keep going. So the roses, if you stop pruning, they'll stop blooming. And so you want to consistently prune the roses and encourage new growth with consistent fertilizing, probably about every 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. And the more you fertilize, the more you prune, the more the roses grow back, and then they grow back with new flowers.
Even bigger.
Yeah, with new flowers on them. So,
nice.
All right. Well, we've got some phone lines open. You're welcome to join our conversation if you've got questions or problems that we've got to try and help you solve. 753-5868, 753 KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. We've got lots of topics to talk about. I'm seeing lots of iron chlorosis. So lots and lots of samples of iron deficiency coming in the store. It is time to do some prevention for billbugs and grubs, since we really haven't seen a whole lot of insect activity in the lawns yet. The insect cycles are a little slow going this year. Now's the time to to prevent. If you've had problems in the past, now is the time to prevent. We don't want to see lots of lawn damage this month, which is probably what's going to happen. I'm seeing a lot of stress and disease in the lawns, though, so we've seen quite a bit of disease kicking in, and then it's getting hot.
Yeah,
it's starting to get hot,
and that's the main thing is it starts really warming up fast.
Yeah,
I think a lot of lawns are going to be stressing.
Yeah, tobacco budworms are starting up on petunias and geraniums, and so we're going to start treating the hanging baskets on Main Street and down Center Street as well, because they just eat the blossoms out and then they stop blooming. So if you've got geraniums that just quit blooming, or if you've got petunias that just quit blooming, most of the time it's not a fertilizer issue, it's an insect. So tobacco budworms really are starting to kick in, so it's time to do that. And it's definitely not too late to plant. So we were talking at the top of the show, peas are done, spinach are bolted, lettuce has gone to seed. It's time to till those all in, and great time to plant some new crops in there. Beets only take 75 days. So you can plant a nice new crop of beets or carrots right now. Any of the summer squashes, so zucchini, crookneck, they're 45 days. Cucumbers are about 50 days as well, too, so they don't take very long to produce. And when we till up our peas and our spinach, we can put a new crop of beans in there. Bush beans would be excellent. And also corn. A great time to plant an early variety of corn. Ambrosia only takes about 70 days to produce, and sugar buns is even shorter season than that. We've been planting sweetness, and the sweetness is super, super sweet. It's really, really good corn, but it only comes on in 68 days. So some really early varieties of corn, plant those right now. They'll be coming on the first week of September, and you'll be harvesting all the way up until we get frost into September, 1st of October. So great way to recycle some of that soil that has been used up to this point in the season. But if you take the peas out and the spinach and the lettuce out, and you just got bare ground, might as well throw something else in there. Yeah, might as well throw something else.
We had a few squash plants that came on. It just never surprises me now to the point where it always seems like this year banana plants struggled, our crookneck struggled, but zucchini, every plant came up. It's like, why don't we ever get that kind of success with all of the rest of the plants?
Exactly.
The zucchini, you could plant it on a rock and somehow it will still take off.
When people come in and they're like, "Oh, I just want one hill of zucchini," and it's like, and I give them like one seed, they laugh, and then it's like, all right, I'll give you 8 or 10 seeds. That'll be enough for like 2 hills. But if you only plant one seed, then it doesn't come up. But if you plant 10, all 10 come up. Then you got the gigantic zucchini all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like we've got a caller.
Yes, our first caller from Logan. Go ahead. Welcome to the Garden Guide this morning.
Yes, I was wondering. It's not deer that are hurting my grapes. It's disease. They're shriveling up and dying.
The fruit or the vines themselves?
Great.
The grapes?
The grapes themselves.
There is a disease that gets into the grapes, and it's called botrytis, and we've seen that a lot. I also have seen a couple samples this year of the grapes lacking micronutrients. And so instead of filling out, the grapes just stay really small, and they'll get kind of hard as well, too. And it's actually a lack of nutrients. So we've seen a little bit of that, too. But botrytis is very consistently a problem in grapes, and you get a little bit of mold, and you'll see the fruit just don't develop as well also. So I've seen both of those already this year. And multiple times. For the botrytis, you'd want to use a good fungicide. So natural organic options would be like copper soap or the Complete Disease Control from Monterey. And I believe the grapes are listed on f-stop as well, too, for a systemic fungicide that will work on those particular diseases. So if you think it's a disease, those would be some great options to try and get those under control. But also doesn't...
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Yep, anytime. Thanks for calling this morning.
And that opens up the phone lines at 753-5868 or 1-800-369-5868. And, we've talked about some of the other, just the fungus that we're seeing on just plants, not just grapes.
Yeah, powdery mildew has been pretty prevalent since we've had higher humidity. So we've had those little storms coming through. We've had that monsoonal moisture. And then you get some cool nights, you get some hot days, and then the powdery mildew takes off like crazy. So we're seeing it on cucumbers. We're seeing it on roses for sure. Watch your maples. Shows up on Norway maples like crazy.
Trees.
Yeah, on the trees. And then cucumbers, melons, squashes, pumpkins it's usually pretty prevalent on those as well too. But most of the time it doesn't show up until like first part of August when we start to get that monsoonal moisture, and it showed up early this year.
This year.
Yeah,
now, and usually the symptoms with powdery mildew, what can people watch out for?
It looks like somebody has sprayed flour on your plants. So you get that white kind of gritty look to it, and it's kind of sucking the strength out of the leaves, so it'll make the leaves turn yellow as well too. So with the squashes and pumpkins, I'll usually get a little bit that shows up in August into my garden, and if you don't get on top of it right when it starts to show up, all of a sudden it's spread all over the plants, everywhere. And then the plants start dying down, and then you don't get as good a production out of them. So if the mildew is showing up early this year, we want to definitely get it under control, because otherwise you're just not going to get a good crop, and you're going to have limited production on your plants.
Yeah.
So we're seeing quite a bit of that. And a lot of disease in lawns. So we've seen necrotic ring spot, we've seen dollar spot, we've seen summer patch, we've seen a lot of different diseases. And it's interesting when you get those diseases that kind of start up in your lawn, you can go through it with your lawnmower as you're mowing the grass, and you'll see streaks where the disease will get picked up on the wheels of the lawnmower, and then you'll see stripes where your wheels went. Yeah, and everyone runs. And I've even seen footprints in people's lawn where they've walked through it, and then it will leave spots where their feet were, where they picked it up off their feet, and you'll see spots that look just like footprints on your lawn. So seen a bunch of that this year as well too. And there's some really great new fungicides out there. There's a brand new one that is made by Scott's that is called Disease X that works on necrotic ring spot. And there hasn't really been a good disease control for many, many, many years for necrotic ring spot. But what we recommend with some of these diseases is to definitely get them under control with a good fungicide, but then overseed your lawn with a more disease-resistant grass, and then you won't have the problem come back next year. So necrotic ring spot doesn't affect ryegrasses, and so there's some very resistant ryegrasses, like in our Mark's Mix. That's got 3 different kinds of ryegrass in there that are disease and insect resistant. And so if you start incorporating some of these grasses into your existing lawn, you won't have to deal with bugs attacking your lawn every single year. You won't have to deal with diseases showing up every year because the grass variety that you're growing is resistant to all those problems. And so it can really save a lot of effort and time and money over years if you're consistently having insect damage. Put a different kind of grass in there. And the ryegrasses are soft like the Kentucky bluegrass. They're darker green. They use less water. They're insect resistant. They're disease resistant. And you just all of a sudden have a lawn that you don't have to put an insecticide on every year. You don't have to put a fungicide on every year because the grass naturally resists it on its own.
It just takes there.
Yeah.
Well, and we've talked about over and over of just as you replant these new grasses, don't take as much water. They are more drought resistant. And so in the long run, it may cost you a little bit the first year to reseed. Right. But in the long run, the amount of money that you're going to save, less water that you use.
And so much work, and then you won't have dead spots in your lawn as well, too. And so, there's a moving trend of flipping your park strip, and taking the grass out and putting, drought tolerant plants in there and planting some more trees, which we've recommended that you should do a tree every year anyway, but
perfect place to do it.
But, you don't have to do that. So again, yesterday I had somebody ask me about the new ordinance with Logan City, and they thought that you had to take your grass out of your park strip and you had to like completely change that. It's like, no. It's like, no, you can have the grass if you'd like, but if you desire to do something different, the ordinance allows you to put in some ground covers and put in some shrubs and do some hardscape or some mulches and different things, and so we're trying to encourage people that would like to do that to do it uniformly. So we have some uniformity in our park strips instead of just somebody's got lava rock over here and somebody's got river rock over there and no plants at all in it. We don't want that. We want plant material out there. And so there's some great ways to design your park strips and make them look attractive, but you can still keep the grass. But what I would recommend is let's not do Kentucky bluegrass, which needs a lot of water to stay green. Let's switch it up and go to a turf type rye, turf type fescue mix like our Mark's Mix and put that in there, and it's going to look great. You can water it once a week or once every 10 days, and it will still be green, and it will resist insects, and it will resist diseases, and you just don't have to water as much, and it looks amazing. So we've got one section of our lawn that has our Mark's Mix in it, and we had a problem with our timer, with our clock on our sprinkling system. And so one of our friends who does sprinklers came in and put a new clock in. Well, one section of our sprinklers just didn't work after that, and it took us a few days to notice that the sprinklers weren't working up there when they came on. And unfortunately, it's an area that we added in after the fact, and so we went through all the valve boxes and we couldn't find the valve for it, and so we're just like, what the heck? Where's that stupid valve? Because we figured it was either the valve or a solenoid or something that wasn't working because it was wired incorrectly. Like they just swapped the wires. It was fairly easy to swap those all back in. And so we're like, okay, is there a wire that's loose? Is the solenoid not working? We couldn't get it. So we didn't have water in that area for about 10 days. Well,
a good week and a half.
A week and a half, yeah. And the grass was still green. And we could see that it was kind of starting to stress a little bit. It's like, oh, why is that grass stressing? Figured out it was the sprinklers. And then sure enough, we were able to find that extra valve box and got that going. And so now it's getting sprinkled again. But that section of our lawn takes 25 to 30% of the water that the rest of our lawn does. And it will stay green and soft and beautiful. With, I mean, seriously, we've in the last 10 days, it's been watered once.
Yeah.
So now we finally got that fixed yesterday. So so now we can give it a little bit of juice. But there's a lot of varieties of grass that can really handle much less water, but still look really good and still perform well. So
and you were talking about looking at maybe changing your park strips, going with a more drought tolerant lawn.
Yeah,
I noticed the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food this month launched a grant program.
Yes,
did you see that?
Yeah,
for incorporating more pollinator plants.
Yeah.
For bees, and a lot of those plants are more drought resistant.
Yeah. There's some great ones, and there's a lot of perennials that the bees just absolutely love.
Yeah.
And there's like catmint. They like the purple flowers a lot. So catmint and salvias, they're all over those. And then for annuals, we usually plant bachelor buttons in our garden. They love California poppies as well too. So we're thinking about doing a nice big section of California poppies back on our hillside where our beehives are. So and the bees are doing great. So I got my new hives installed in May, and I've already got my second brood box on there.
Top.
Yeah, and they're just going nuts. So I'm gonna have to check them probably this week and see if it's time to start
on that third.
Adding a little bit more,
yeah.
Adding a little bit more, but they've been super active, so we're very excited about that. And the extra moisture has really helped a lot of extra pollen this year, so we've seen a lot of pollen production on the trees. If you hadn't noticed and your nose wasn't running and your eyes haven't been running, there's been a lot of pollen. There's been a lot of pollen this year. Yeah, it's been a lot of pollen, so that's great though, because then our bee populations are going nuts. And we have seen really good fruit production on a lot of trees, and we have seen some trees with no fruit on them at all. And we had some late frosts that definitely did in a few trees.
Took out our peaches and apricots, but our apples.
Apples are covered.
Just exploded this year.
Yeah, we've got a lot of apples and a lot of pears. And then most of my peach trees in one location don't have any fruit on them, just like a little bit here and there. One of my nectarines has got a little bit of fruit. And then in our other locations, a little more protected, covered. They're just covered with fruit. So I had to do some serious thinning. But since I thinned 2 weeks ago, the fruit has tripled in size.
Just after doing that thinning,
it's tripled in size. So they're doing amazingly well.
And we talked about just giving that fruit a good 5 inches.
Yes,
spacing the fruit out
5 to 6 inches between fruits. Yep, and then use a micronutrient fertilizer on them as well too. So when we go out and spray fruit trees for people, Logan Extermination does a summertime fruit tree program. So we'll go out and we'll spray for codling moth on apples and pears. We'll spray for aphids and various diseases on your stone fruits as well too. We put a micronutrient package in with it as well too. So when we're spraying your trees, we're not only controlling insects or diseases, but we're fertilizing your trees at the same time. And it's not like a high nitrogen fertilizer to make them grow like crazy. It's high in micronutrients. So it's got copper and boron and iron and zinc and manganese in there, which really helps with the general health of the tree, but makes your fruit taste better. And so you get really nice tasting fruit, better tasting fruit because of those micronutrients. And so you can either spray those micros on, or you can just like water the plants with them. But it's
right down to the
but it's critical. It's like I had somebody in like 2 days ago in the store, and we were talking, and they're like, "Oh, my trees have been just not producing as much the last 3 or 4 years. And like for multiple years, they just produced like crazy. And then last couple of years, there's fruit on there, but they're small and they don't taste as good. They just don't fill out." And it's like, well, when did you fertilize last? And they're like, I have to fertilize.
Yep.
And it's like, well, yeah, because that tree is staying in that same soil. It's probably mined all the nutrient out of the soil.
Yep.
And so it's like, let's start fertilizing, and I think you'll see a difference next year. It's like your tree's going to go a little bit better. So I've started fertilizing my fruit trees every spring. So March or April, we get a nice complete fertilizer with a lot of micronutrients. I've been using the ProGrow 365, and that's got a lot of beneficial microbes and microorganisms as well to build the soil back up. And man, huge difference on their fruit production and the general health of the trees. We pruned really heavy this spring, and they just look amazing and are setting lots of fruit. So very, very excited about that. But just gotta get out there and fertilize them sometimes to keep things going. So we are at the bottom of the hour already.
We have already flown by, and we've got plenty of time to take more calls. If you have a question for Mark, 753-5868 or 1-800-369-5868. We'll talk more gardening, lawn tips, and we do need to talk about iron deficiency, too.
Iron deficiency, for
coming
sure.
up after the break here on KVNU.
I'm Bill Walter, KVNU News. USU, of course, is planning a veterinarian school, and there are inklings of things coming from Bridgerland Technical College and other technical colleges in the state. In addition, New Vision Veterinary has proposed a school campus that incorporates housing and an animal hospital. It would be independent of the USU school, but resources could be shared. On a recent KVNU For the People program, Dr. Cody Ferber said the idea for this came about when he put forth a question to staff about 2.5 years ago on what their perception was about the culture of veterinary medicine.
And to my surprise, our staff gave me at least 20 negative things about the profession that I had dedicated my whole life to. Everything from toxic work environment to burnout to compassion fatigue, all of these, key words that seem to play in there. A lot of the veterinarians, of my own staff were suffering from all of those types of things.
So to help train and put more veterinarians into the field to ease the shortage and workload, the school is proposed for the area around 2100 North and 400 East in North Logan. To find out more about it, you can visit newvisionvet.org. Gas prices nationwide are dropping, but not in Utah. On Friday, the average price of gas in the U.S. is $4.85 per gallon. In Utah, it's $5.24 per gallon, according to data from AAA. Hot and dry with gusty southwest winds over the weekend with highs in the lower 90s Saturday and Sunday. Temperatures back off a bit for the 4th, upper 80s for the high. For the latest news, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
From ABC Sports. Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Ant. The Dodgers won their third consecutive game and improved to 2-0 on a season-long 11-game homestand. Cody Bellinger cracked his 11th homer of the season.
Bellinger with a fly ball to right. Well hit. Mazzara to the wall, and it is gone. A home run. And the Dodgers take a 2-1 lead.
Max Muncy added number 7, and Tony Gonsolin became the first 10-game winner in the National League. The Dodgers topped the Padres 5-1. Max Fried won his 8th straight decision, and Austin Riley put Atlanta ahead to stay in the first inning.
He strikes one out towards center field, spreading back Senzel. He's at the warning track. He keeps going. That's out of the ballpark.
On 6:80 a.m., The Fan. That was Riley's 19th homer this season. Braves beat the Reds 9-1. The Astros beat the Angels 8-2. This is ABC Sports.
The Cache Valley Cruise-In is here. Come join the fun as they celebrate 40 years.
Cache Valley Cruising, Cache Valley Cruising.
This year, they're giving away 2 cars to one lucky winner. A 93 Chevy Corvette and a 68 Ford Mustang. So come check out the show because your ticket gives you a chance at winning both cars.
July 4th has come and gone, but we will be handling your hangovers on Tuesday as we put all the fighting back into taking over our country. move closer and closer to midterms. We'll update you on the latest there. Plus, Buck.
We're going to be looking at the economy. Is it in a comeback or a slowdown? That's coming up on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM at 610 AM. From gardening to landscaping, it's the Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And welcome back to the Garden Guide, 8:38 now on this Saturday morning. Phone lines are open, 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. Definitely feeling the 4th of July holidays.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are in that holiday mindset.
The traffic.
Yep.
The NBA draft.
Yes.
The free agents.
Speaking of which, Utah Jazz getting a new coach. I'm sure you were following that pretty closely this week.
And apparently a whole new team as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, coach goes and everybody jumps ship, apparently, or something like that.
Interesting to see what happens. Yeah, interesting. But there's no changes like that at Anderson. So.
No. And that's the thing about it's great about gardening.
Consistency.
Yeah. There's a lot of, who was it that mentioned, I think it was a caller last week. No, it was as we were talking tomatoes. We were talking about the patience that comes with gardening.
Yes. You definitely learn patience.
Yep. There's no quick fixes when it comes to gardening.
No. It'd be nice if you could just go out there and plant your tomato plant, and 2 weeks later it's just like loaded with fruit. It usually just doesn't work that way.
Happen.
But I was really surprised that I had crooknecks on my squash already, though, because seriously, it's been less than 30 days, and they're already setting fruit. So I was like, sweet.
That's impressive.
We'll be eating those here pretty soon. My cucumbers are doing amazing. So I put aquadomes on my cucumber plants and on my cantaloupes as well too, and they were doing great. And we took off because my son had his baby, and so we went down to visit for a couple days in Arizona. And I came back, and they were growing out the top,
and they're coming out of the top
aquadomes,
of the dome.
like all over the place. And the tomatoes had grown out of the top of all their aquadomes as well too. So this week I took the domes all off and trellised all the cucumbers, but I'm going to let the cantaloupes just kind of grow on the ground, do their thing. But all the tomatoes, I had to cage all my tomatoes. Like every single tomato was 6 to 8 to 10 inches out the top of the aquadomes. So that extra heat, they've just been growing like crazy. So aquadomes are all off. The pumpkins and squashes are starting to run all over the place. I mean, the garden's just growing like crazy. It looks really good. Yeah. Got one section I got to till, and I hoed the corn. So I got the corn all hoed, and that looks really good too. Fertilize the corn. So every year I have people that come in, they're like, my corn just didn't do very well last year. It was short, and the ears were small, and they didn't fill out all the way, and I don't want that variety of corn anymore. And it's like, well, it's not really the variety of corn. You've depleted your soil of nitrogen. So my corn was 4 to 6 inches tall. Just fertilized it with the first application. So first application of fertilizer went on, and I will do it again when it's about 2 to 3 feet tall, and then one more time when it tassels. And so you've got to plan ahead with the corn and make sure you fertilize it consistently. And if you do that, you'll get really tall stalks. You'll get multiple ears per stalk. You'll get big ears on. All the ears will be large. They'll fill out all the way to the end. Your corn just really needs a lot of nitrogen. It's going to pull every ounce of nitrogen out of your soil. So this is a great time to start anticipating when to fertilize. When to fertilize the corn. Just straight nitrogen.
And rather than a gardening mix, you just go straight nitrogen?
Yeah. So it doesn't need high phosphorus or potassium, which is the second and the third number. It just wants mostly nitrogen. And so ammonium sulfate, ammonium nitrate, anything with a high first number. You got to be a little careful with like urea. That's like a 46% nitrogen. That could burn your corn, so you got to be a little bit careful with that. But just a good slow release nitrogen fertilizer for the corn, and it's going to be just happy little camper.
And then just water that in.
Keep it watered, yeah. So I had someone in. My good friend Dave from Beaver Mountain was in yesterday, and we were talking, I need a new snowboard, but we were also talking corn.
Corn and snowboard.
Yes, corn
Perfect
and snowboard.
Combination.
They go hand in hand. And he's like, well, how do you do your corn? And it's like, all right, do you want the exact instructions, or do you want just the regular instructions? So I gave him the exact instructions, and so it's like, all right, I till between the rows first. before I fertilize the corn. And then I throw about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of the straight nitrogen fertilizer in each cluster of corn. And then I furrow it, not because I have water that runs down those furrows, but it pushes the soil over on top of the fertilizer. So the furrower that I have is just kind of old-fashioned push, cultivator, but it pushes the soil all to one side. And so it's got a moldboard plow on there, so it pushes all the soil to one side. So I can use it to hill up my potatoes. I can use it to kind of hill up the corn a little bit, so the corn is a little bit more stable. But when I fertilize, I'll furrow, and it pushes the soil just a little bit over on top of the fertilizer, and it covers that fertilizer up, and then I water it afterwards. And so he's like, too much information. I'm not doing that, But that's exactly how I do mine, and it works great because if you leave the nitrogen exposed, you'll lose some of it through evaporation. It'll evaporate into the atmosphere, and so by covering it up, it'll keep all the nitrogen right there in the root zone.
Plus, you go along with the sprayer, and this is what we found this year. You hit it with the sprayer, and all that fertilizer just goes everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. Oh, exactly.
And so, it's still going to benefit the soil, but just may not hit the plant.
But we want it to stay right there where the corn's going to get it. So that works really, really well. So if you can do that, that's the best way to fertilize that corn, and super effective that way. But if you don't fertilize the corn, it's going to be short. You're not going to have as much production, and your ears are going to be small. So it's critical that you do that. So join our conversation. We're just having a good time talking about gardening and different tricks to be more successful in the garden. 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. Got to remind everyone, our crop of fruit trees came in this week, and they look absolutely amazing. So 2 to 3 feet of new growth on all those trees. Lots of stone fruits. We've got peaches, we've got nectarines, we've got plums, we've got cherries, we've got apricots. I think we got 5 kinds of apricots, 5 or 6 kinds of peaches, 2 or 3 kinds of nectarines, and probably 4 or 5 different kinds of cherries, and a couple apples and pears as well too, and they all just look amazing. Sidewalk sale is next week. Wednesday market's back up and going, and we're doing classes again. So we've got Water-Wise Landscaping will be taught by J.D. Gunnell on Wednesday at 12:15 if you want to come participate in our lunch and learn classes. So 12:15. Usually class has been lasting about 40 minutes. 30 to 40 minutes, and it's been a great opportunity to share good information and just have fun with people there at the market. So it's been good. And Mad Money sales the week after.
We'll be coming up.
Yeah.
Busy month. Well, let's go back to the busy phones. We've got Scott joining us on the line from Hyde Park. Scott, welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hi, thank you for having me. I have a question. I have a bunch of Sweet Williams or Dianthus flowers in front of my house. They're all in full bloom right now.
Awesome.
And they do well, but how do I get them to rebloom after they die off? Or is it just a one-shot for the summer?
Great question. The Dianthus you can get to come back. And so after they're done blooming, deadhead those. So trim all the dead flowers off. And so easier to trim the Dianthus than it is the Sweet Williams. And so I'll just take a hedge trimmer and just trim those all off. A little bit of fertilizer, and then you'll get another flush of color late summer, early fall. You can get them to bloom again, second time in the fall for sure.
Wonderful. Yeah, I have one other question for you. This is the first time we've had this issue, but I noticed we've been getting a bunch of these white moths in our lawn when I'm mowing the grass.
Yes.
So I called down and I put some something called bifenthrin down, I think. It's like a granular.
Yes, the bifenthrin.
Is there anything else I need to do to treat?
There's a couple different moths that we're seeing right now. So we're seeing some kind of creamy colored moths that are coming off the box elder trees right now, and they are not doing any damage out in your lawn. They're just having fun out there. But the sod webworm moths, it's probably a little bit early to see those. Usually it's the latter part of July that we start seeing the sod webworm moths. They're a little bit more of a grayish brown color, and when they land, they fold their wings in really, really tight, so they're very narrow and long, and they have a little little bit of a Gonzo the Great snout. If you're familiar with the Muppets, Gonzo's got like a big crooked nose. Oh, the sod webworm moths actually have a big long crooked nose that's just kind of like that sticks out off their head, and so you can identify those actually fairly easily. Those
are exactly what I have right there that you're describing.
All right. The bifenthrin will do a great job at controlling the sod webworm the larvae as they hatch out, not the moths. It really won't help a lot with the moths because they never touch the ground. They land on the grass. And so unless you're doing a spray, like a liquid spray that's going to stay on the grass, the granules won't do anything for the moths, but it will kill their larvae as they hatch out. And that's really what's going to be doing the damage. The moths themselves are not. They're just out reproducing and finding food and doing their thing out there. But it's their babies that do all the damage. So the bifenthrin will do a great job on those. You could do another application probably the end of this month, and I'd probably say throw a little systemic insecticide in with it. So we have a product that's called Bug Blaster Plus. It has a combination of a systemic as well as a contact insecticide in there. It'll give you a longer residual, and it really will do a great job at stopping some of these insects that will be damaging your lawn. But don't expect the granules to work on the moths themselves, but it'll kill their larvae. And they're the ones we're trying to target anyway.
Not too concerned about the moths. I was mostly concerned about the larvae that's causing the moths.
Great.
And I knew that was the issue. And,
Yep.
But, I'll come in and get the other stuff to give it a little more lasting power. And you answered my question already. When can I do it again?
Yeah.
I put it down about, 10 days ago. And, and so we'll go from there. Thank you.
Plan on the bifenthrin lasting about not quite 60 days, usually about 6 weeks. And so end of this month, 1st of August would be perfect, Scott.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling this morning. Have a great weekend.
Yep, you too.
That frees up a phone line, 753-5868, or you can also call in at 1-800-369-5868. Speaking of insects, I noticed over the last week and a half, grasshoppers have all of a sudden just decided to come to town.
Population has exploded.
Yes.
Yeah, population
just
has
within
exploded.
the last week and a half.
Yep, and we've not been able to get Nolo bait, unfortunately. And
we've talked about
there
that.
is
There's
none available
out there.
Yeah, there's none available. So I still have customers coming in asking for it. It's like not going to happen this year. Hopefully, we'll be able to get it back in stock again next year. But it's not just us; it's everybody across the western states. You just can't find it, and there are some great options. So we've had some really great results with the repellents. So the cedar granules, the cedar oil, done a great job keeping insects out of my garden and my yard. In fact, I treated my garden the other day, and I haven't seen hardly a single grasshopper.
Yet.
Yeah, since I applied. It lasts about 2 to 3 weeks, so I'll probably hit it again here sometime after the 4th. With another application, then it'll last through the rest of July, and then I'll have to decide whether I want to put one on in August or not. So probably won't necessarily need it, but it really does a great job of keeping the insects down. And then for a good spray, the bifenthrin that Scott just mentioned that he used on his lawn, that actually does a great job on grasshoppers. Really good. Bug Blaster from High Yield has bifenthrin in it. That's a great option for controlling grasshoppers and spiders and ants and earwigs, box elder bugs, elm seed beetles, mosquitoes. It works on all those insects. You just can't use it on edibles, and so you can use it around your garden. I'll use it on like my tops of my potatoes, tops of the carrots, because I'm not going to be eating those.
Right.
I'll spray the stalks of the corn with it because I'm not eating the stalk of the corn. But you don't want to use it on your tomato plants,
squash.
on the stuff you're going to be eating. But if you do want to use a safe insecticide, probably indoor-outdoor from High Yield is labeled for use on all kinds of fruits and vegetables. It's permethrin. That'll do a really great job on the grasshoppers, not the box elder bugs. Does a good job on box elder bugs too. But new formulation of 7 is really good also. So that does a great job on grasshoppers. And both that and the High Yield indoor-outdoor, they're safe to use like right up to a day or two before you harvest, depending on what you're applying it to. So yeah, those would be really good. Weeds have just popped up like crazy too.
Yeah.
Not just the bugs, but the weeds have gone
morning glory.
nuts. Yeah. and it's too hot it's too hot to spray your lawn.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of people coming in right now. They're like, oh, I've got dandelions, or I've got morning glory, I've got purslane, or something showing up. You really got to watch your daytime temperatures if you're spraying for weeds in your lawn. If your daytime temperatures are getting up above 90 degrees, especially if it's hitting into the mid 90s, if we're hitting 95, it can burn your grass. Even if you sprayed in the evening the day before when it was cool and nice, and once it turns hot the next day, it can really burn the grass. Yeah, and so temperature restrictions on a lot of those herbicides are very specific on the label, but most people don't read the label. So you got to read the label, make sure to find out how hot of a temperature it's okay to use that product on, whether it's 2,4-D or whether it's Trimec or whether it's Weed Free Zone, because you can burn sections of your grass very easily. Yeah, if you don't do it right. So normally by the time we get to the 4th of July, we're just telling people, hey, just hang on for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, and around the end of August, 1st of September, we can start going after weeds again.
Hit it.
Yeah. But every now and then we get a cold front that comes through. Sometimes we'll get that weird cold front that comes in around the 4th of July, and we're drinking hot chocolate for the fireworks, and that's a good time to...
And if you can get about 3 days...
Oh, yeah. Then you're good.
Perfect.
Just even a couple days would be fine, because once you get that applied and it's doing its job, you can water afterwards and then get that washed off the grass, and then you won't have any damage on your grass. But those weed killers that are made specifically for lawns, you can have some phototoxicity with high temperatures, and you will burn spots of your grass. And so you got to be really, really careful. A product like Kills-All or Roundup or even Decimate from Fertilome, they work better the hotter it gets. Yeah, the hotter it is, the faster they work. And so if you're trying to kill all kinds of different weeds and you're not using it just strictly in your lawn, by all means, use them, because they work great. 90-degree day, you could spray Decimate at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 8 o'clock at night, the weeds are going to be dying already. I mean, it just works that fast. So you see some really quick results. I still would recommend you don't spray in the middle of the day when it's really, really hot. I prefer to spray in the evening when it's cooler. You get a little bit better results that way. Make sure and use a surfactant with it, and you're going to get amazing results right now with High Yield Kills-All, with Roundup, or with the Decimate from Fertilome. You're going to get great results with the higher temperatures, but they can volatilize and drift a little bit. So you got to be careful to make sure your desirable plants do not get damaged also.
Yeah, I was going to say, that especially with these warm temperatures, we were out spraying a lawn about 3 or 4 years ago with 2,4-D, and I was so careful around my fruit trees, but it was so hot that got a little evaporation, and it hit one of our pear trees and took that out for about a year and a half.
It'll curl the leaves up, and you most of the time they come out of it, but it can cause some problems. Since we are starting to get hotter temperatures, it's a really good time to fertilize your lawn. And so usually around the 4th of July through the 24th of July is when we recommend you put your third application of fertilizer on. And if you're struggling with water, if you got some restrictions like we're seeing on the west end of Cache Valley, so Newton and Lewiston and Amalga and Clarkston, less water over on that side of the valley. You could like substitute a product like Back to Green instead of a fertilizer, because the Back to Green has that high dose of iron in there, so it'll really green the lawn up without making it grow out of control. But then it's going to really help with your watering. So where we put the Back to Green and the Hydrotain on our lawn, it's been so nice. And like I said, I've had some sprinkler issues that we've had to fix, and so we haven't been able to water consistently for the last month with the timer issues we had on our sprinkler. And so our lawn's just as green and beautiful as it could possibly be with a lot less water. And the Back to Green will help you decrease your water usage by 30%, and the Hydrotain 30 to 50%. I mean, it really makes that much of a difference. But it's a really good time to fertilize, and if your lawn's healthy and it's well fed, you won't need as much water to keep it green through the summertime. And mow a little bit taller, and it's just your grass is going to handle a lot better.
Better off.
Yeah. Cools your yard down, keeps everything looking good.
Back to Green. Well, we've got 2 minutes. Let's just mention one more time.
Yeah.
Anderson Seed and Garden open today, closed on Monday.
Yes, so closed on Monday for the holiday, and open today 9 till 6. And we've got some great new shrubs that came in, some awesome new shade trees, and the new fruit trees that arrived on Monday look amazing. 2 to 3 feet of growth. I've got peaches on some of those trees already. We've got fruit development on, these are brand new trees, and they just look spectacular. So.
In 10-gallon buckets, so just know that you're going to be digging a pretty big hole.
Digging a big hole. You're going to be digging a big hole.
But it's going to be so much better established.
Oh, yeah, for sure. New perennials arrived this week. We've got some bloomed out perennials that we're still doing on sale for half price. So there's still some great bloomed out perennials you can get for half price. So we've got some good deals going on at Anderson's this weekend. Sidewalk sale is next week. We'll probably do some great sales for the sidewalk sale as well. And Mad Money is coming up the 11th through the 16th. So if you've been coming into Anderson's and making some purchases, you've probably accumulated some Mad Money. You can come in and use it just like cash for up to half of your purchase price. The 11th through the 16th of July. Yeah,
okay.
So it's coming up. It's coming up. Iron chlorosis is really bad. We didn't really get to talk about it, but we're seeing a lot of that. So we'll probably talk iron next week on the show, and we'll have to cover some of those things. Get out there and plant. It's not too late to plant.
No, not too late.
It is not too late to plant. You can plant almost everything still and have expectations of a great crop in late August and early September. So.
Yeah. And start watching those watering times. Because even though, thankfully we've been better off this year than we have been in years past here in northern Utah.
Yeah,
we still need to do everything we can to conserve some water.
Want to conserve. That's right. That'll help us fill those reservoirs back up again. So, all right. Thanks for the help today, Will, and we'll be back again next week with a new edition of the Garden Guide.
As our world changes, we're with you. News Talk KVNU Logan, 102 FM, 610 AM, the voice of Northern Utah.